Alright, so today we're going on a little adventure. We're going over to my nephew's house, and he's going to show us his home-built camper. Maybe that will get us motivated to restoring this 1975 Prowler sitting right next to me right over there. So let's get over there and let's check it out. Alright, so we're at my nephew's house. This is my nephew Mickey.
What's up?
And he's going to show us the camper that he built, which is right behind us. So let me get this camera turned around and we'll get started. This is what it is. It's a little Teardrop, completely home built. Did a pretty awesome job on it, if you ask me. I mean, I'm no camper expert, but this thing is great. Alright, so I'm going to turn it over to Mickey, and he can explain to you what it was and what it is.
Alright, so when I first got it, I was looking at trailers and seeing if I was going to buy one or if I was going to weld one up myself. And just so happens my buddy, his uncle wanted a trailer taken out of his yard and taken to the dump, but he wanted the whole thing thrown away. And he said if I could just throw it away for him, he was going to pay us, but I said, why don't you just give me the trailer instead and let me take the trailer home? He said sure, so we took it to the dump, dumped all the trash and everything that it was, because it was just a trash hauler with like 2-foot high walls or so on it. So we went back to his yard afterwards, stripped all the wood off, stripped all the arms and the braces off for the little walls that were on it, and ended up trying to pull it back home, but one of the tires blew up, so I had to leave it there. Came back, picked it up the next day with a new tire, brought it back into town, pulled it back here, and just started grinding away because there was this old rust layer. I had to grind all that off with a polishing wheel, a flap disc. I grinded all that off, and then I started seeing the welds on each little part of the frame. And I'm no professional welder, but they were terrible. So I cut it all apart, grinded off all the old welds, sanded it down, re-welded it all up piece by piece, slapped it back together, and I was going to coat it, but at work we have a powder coat that we do on a lot of the gates, so I ended up paying, I think it was like $200, well like $210 actually, to get it powder coated. So it's a durable powder coat. They did 2 finishes on it, the primer finish powder coat and then a black finish to protect it. And after that I brought it back home and started figuring out ways to do my deck. And I got sandal marine grade plywood, coated it in, I sanded off the shiny part, coated it in a Henry's roof tar that's a polyurethane base, so it soaks into the wood, and it took about 6 layers to fully get it built up enough to where I was comfortable putting it on. So I coated both sides of the plywood, cut it to fit, made my deck, and then slapped that on there, bolted it down in 4 different spots on each cut, put it on, started doing the framing to figure out how I was going to do my walls. And I did on the front I put a 2-foot radius on my front cut, and I was going to do the same thing in the back, but I didn't like the square kind of look, so I ended up doing a 4-foot radius in the back and then cut that off with a jigsaw. Cut it to fit, sanded it down, made sure my measurements were spot on, and it just so happened to be that they were, so I stood them up on the framing that I put onto the ground and tacked those into place with little braces, and then started at the front with 2x4s, and I went 16 on center for each one going across, and then up on the top I used 2x3s. I framed out my little, I think it's called a Maxi Air vent fan. No, it's a Fantastic.
Okay.
Alright, so worked out my 2x4s at the front with the walls stood up, framed those in going up at 16 on center, and then I used 2x3s for the top part because I had to build a box for the opening. The rough opening on the vent fan was like 14 by 14, I believe. Built that in, and then I had to get little hole saw paddle bits, and hole sawed some of them, paddle bit some of the other holes to run my conduit for the wiring, and I ran the wiring for the fan, the lights, and then out through, so it comes off the top next to the fan. The wiring, after I had it framed out, ran the wiring.
Okay, so the phone died because of the heat, because it's hotter than fucking Satan's butthole out here today. So we're just gonna go ahead and continue with showing you the camper. And you want to show them the inside?
So the inside is kind of a pain in the ass because I used white cedar paneling, typically used for fence boards. So when it dries, it gets these little spaces in between them, and I wanted to keep that cedar smell. I used 1/4-inch plywood for the paneling underneath that cedar paneling that's doing the sides, and it also does the entire floor too. I paneled all of that as well. Got my little light switch right here. This turns on the fan and the lights, and it's got a little laptop USB and a phone charging USB. I used 1-inch manila rope for the trim that goes along here. I got the window off of eBay, this guy that makes his own RV windows and stuff. Also got the fantastic vent fan for the ceiling up there. And lights turn on like there. They're little small 3-inch LEDs. Back ones turn on, fan turns on. The fan is reversible, but right now I have it to where it sucks the hot air out of the fan, or out of the trailer. I just have a couple camping mattresses in here right now, the little small tri-fold ones. And yeah, door locks. It's fully watertight. Tested it out in some of the rain that we had this year. Closes up pretty nice. I sealed it all in with some RV sealant. I got all of the aluminum trim off of one of my buddies in the Teardrop Camper Facebook group. This guy over in Massachusetts, he shipped all the trim bits to me. I used 12-foot sheets of 16-gauge aluminum to sheet over this, and the exterior, after I did the framing and the inside paneling with the 1/4-inch plywood, I did the 1/4-inch on the outside as well, and also coated that in a polyurethane waterproof sealant. And got the black vinyl trim inserts from the guy that I bought the aluminum trim on as well. And here's the outside of the window. It's got a screen on the inside. I keep it open just because more air. And I have a little outlet right here. The plug's not in it right now because the first one ended up messing up, so I had to ship it back. And I got a new plug that I put in that has a straight shot plug that goes into the inside, so I have shore power. I just got to plug it back in and screw it back on.
And you were saying about the height from the axle, flipping it around.
Yeah. So I did an axle flip on here, which is literally just taking the axle off, blocking it up, and just turning it around so the U-bolts go the opposite direction. So when it sits on your leaf springs, you get probably like a 3 to a 5-inch lift depending on your leaf springs. And the axle and the leaf springs and the rims are the only things that I didn't build myself, really. I actually ordered those off of eBay and they showed up on my doorstep. An axle and 2 rims with tires for about $280 for the pair. And the other thing that I didn't build is this toolbox right here. I was going to weld my own, but the aluminum, a lot lighter, a lot simpler, and it has a nice lock built in. So I got this one. I put a 1200 watt inverter in it just so my girlfriend can run a coffee pot, fucking hair dryer, flat iron, whatever she wants to do. And I can also have anything else that I want too. This is a switch that I'm going to be mounting up on the outside so I don't have to reach in here and hit the switch to turn on the inverter every time. This is going to be my main power shut on, or shut off I mean. I'm going to be wiring this up too. I still have a couple things I need to finish up on it. But I got a interstate battery with about 125 amp hours left on it. Well, 125 amp hours total. And it's plugged into a little sine wave charger. A little solar powered charger that I have a panel that I can set up on right here too. So I just put the panel up on here, open it up, and then I can just plug it straight into my battery. I have my little distributor, or my little fuse box right here. that's distributing my wires all the way out from the battery into the camper for my cabin lights, the fan, and then my back cabin lights, and then the phone charger. And everything's all wired up through. It passes through the inverter and into the box and then back into there, and there's another fuse in between all that as well. And,
well, that's a smart idea, put inline fuses.
Yeah. So I just got this little jack off a
That's a nice camper, really is.
16 gauge diamond plate that I cut out with a router. So I just stuck it on, cut the first bit with a grinder, and then used a router to follow it down to follow the edging. And my trailer lights, way my 7-pin plug can come out from here and plug into my truck, and it goes through, comes out of those cross braces for the wires that are going to be following along the sides. I have 3/4 inch LEDs that are going to be doing the trim around the sides. One of them is going to come up to here. I have the wires at the bottom coming out for a little porch light that I'm going to be putting on. And the other ones follow straight back to another box that goes through to the tail lights.
This is what it looks like from the top up here. There's a closer look at that vent. Vent looks awesome. I think you need to find some of those 70s bubble windows.
Yeah, those
to put in the sides.
$50 each. I didn't get those ones. The whole cost for building everything, material, metal, lights, trim, everything, was about $980.
That's not bad, really.
Yeah.
Considering what you...
And I've already been offered $5,200 for it. But,
wow.
You know, most teardrops have that galley hatch that opens up with a full kitchen and all that, but...
Yeah, you don't need all that.
It saved about $600 not doing all of that.
The only thing you need a camper for is for sleeping anyway.
Exactly. You know, if you're fucking cooking anything on... Got the fucking window cut out. Fits fucking amazingly. The stressful part I was worried about. Calls for a brewski. Project's coming along. Fucking progress for today. Got my conduit ran for my wiring. Fucking door opening cut out. My roof spars. Fucking done for the night, man. Fucking progress for today. Got my conduit ran for my wiring. Fucking door opening cut out. My roof spars. Just gotta finish up a couple bits of the front right here. Get a piece of diamond plate. Other than that, it's all done. A couple of my buddies from the Facebook group, when you see this, send me some pictures of the stuff that you use to seal around your wiring. I need a rubber grommet, 3/4 inches long by 2 inches wide.
Alright guys, so there you go. There's my nephew's camper, his home-built camper. He did a great job. I'm pretty proud of him. He worked hard on it, and he's getting it done. He's got a few things that needs to be done on it still, but he'll get it done, and it is camp ready right now if he wants to take it camping. But some fenders and a few odds and ends, and it'll be good. But anyway, thanks for watching, and get back to you another time.